Right now, let's get in line for Murray and Martin's Formula One Special.
The championship is all square, just 20 points available as the Formula One circus moves to the famous Nürburgring in the west of Germany.
You're right there, Martin. Just 2 races left in the series. This one's going to be a nail-biter, and it's time again for F1 Special. On the programme today, who's got the edge in the psychological battle as the pressure of this year's title race reaches boiling point? Louise Goodman spends an entire race morning with Johnny Herbert. We look at one of Grand Prix's most important communication tools, the pit-to-car radio. F1 People talks to Arrow's team manager, John Walton. And there's a final chance to win that famous hat swiped from the head of Michael Schumacher. Plus, all the news from today's qualifying session for the Luxembourg Grand Prix. And that's how this week's F1 Special kicks off. Now, qualifying, as ever, absolutely crucial for Ferrari and McLaren with the championship at stake. Here's James Allen.
Qualifying was always going to be very close, and a freak rain shower 10 minutes before the off added to the pressure on the 2 championship contenders. Schumacher looked ready to go. Hakkinen looked ready for anything. There were others in the hunt for pole too. Williams driver Jacques Villeneuve, McLaren's David Coulthard, Jordan's Ralf Schumacher, and Benetton's Giancarlo Fisichella. Schumacher went out early to test the track and had one of his famous off-piste moments. He was very lucky to get away with this on the wet grass. That's one of your 9 lives gone, thought Hakkinen. As the track dried out, first Eddie Irvine led the way, then Heinz-Harald Frentzen popped in a quick one, and Ralf Schumacher moved ahead as the times tumbled. But all eyes were on Mika Hakkinen, who was looking for the first sub-1 minute 20 lap of the afternoon. Mission accomplished, but the relief was short-lived as Schumacher sprung one of the biggest surprises of the year, flattening McLaren's pretense of being the pole position kings.
Yes, that was a tremendous lap because Schumacher was fighting the car all the way around, using absolutely all of the track.
Suspension, do your stuff. Schumacher's lap poleaxed the opposition. No one could believe the performance gap. Villeneuve was on great form, grabbing 3rd, although he lost out in the final rush for places. Eddie Irvine was getting closer and closer to his teammates' time, moving up to 4th place with 1 run left. Fisichella fulfilled his promise, getting within half a second of Schumacher in the shootout for 2nd place. Damon, on the other hand, didn't live up to expectations, spinning out en route to 10th. Shame, thought Eddie, I was just getting used to all that success. David Coulthard struggled all afternoon with lack of grip and couldn't give Ferrari any sort of challenge, a disappointing 5th today. But the surprises were not over. Eddie Irvine held it all together to grab his first ever front row start.
Yes, my goodness, he's done it! Fabulous lap! Michael Schumacher, pole position, Eddie Irvine 2nd. Ferrari 1st, Ferrari 2nd, incredible!
The first Ferrari 1-2 since 1995. In contrast, McLaren weren't going to get their 10th front row of the year, but could Mika Hakkinen at least get himself up there? So much at stake, the World Championship in the balance. The last thing he needed was 2 Ferraris ahead of him. He had to find the speed, but it deserted him when he needed it most. Suddenly Melbourne seemed a long time ago. Schumacher's 2nd pole in a row and never a more important one. But then you need something a bit special when the World Championship's at stake. What a grid, what a race in store. Schumacher and Irvine in control. Hakkinen and Fisichella on row 2. Coulthard a spectator, with Ralf Schumacher alongside him. Frentzen and Wirtz on row 4. Villeneuve and Hill make up the top 10. Johnny Herbert 13th. When will he get a break?
Eddie and myself on the front row. There must be a reason that I'm 4/10 in front. It's not because of luck, it's because we are simply faster and we have a good package. And we have a good situation to fight for the championship.
I knew there was time in hand. I didn't think there was as much time as I found, but you know, I got sort of, I just kept kept creeping up, getting a little bit faster in the last lap, really pushed hard, and got a good lap, you know, and it got me on the front row, which is a nice feeling.
They went really well, particularly Eddie. I think Eddie did fantastic. I mean, considering he was second and best position what he ever had in qualifying. I think he drove really well. Unfortunately, he's in front of me.
I was a little bit disappointing, a bit confused as to why we haven't quite shown the same pace here as at other tracks, but you know, we need to look at it tonight, and you know, we could maybe think it was down to tyres, but Fisichella's right there with us, and that's much closer than Benetton normally are, so you've got to say that maybe we're a bit off the pace in our setup. Doing another pole position after Monza, with Eddie together on the front row, it can't be better, definitely, and we obviously hope now to bring that over into the race.
Every driver has his own routine on race day. When he gets up, what he has for breakfast, even how he drives the rent-a-car to the circuit. Louise Goodman spent an entire race morning with Johnny Herbert. Here's how it unfolded.
Early Sunday morning and Johnny's on his way to the track, but there's a small problem to sort first.
You filled me up. Let's go. Off to another one. Excuse me, lady.
It's about average start time for you.
Yeah, well, Sunday's always okay because it's the 9:30 warm up, 8:30 meeting. Let's always get there half an hour before, roughly. I must say, Monza's not a bad one.
We're spot on time, it's 8 a.m. The race doesn't start for another 6 hours, but there's plenty of work to be done in the meantime. First stop, the Sauber motorhome in the paddock.
The tradesman's entrance.
Yeah, it's the quick way.
Like most drivers, Johnny has his own private space in the team bus, where he can escape for rare moments of quiet contemplation. There's not much room to do anything else in there.
My massive good one. Very small.
8:10, time for a spot of breakfast before getting down to the serious business of the day.
Guten Morgen. It's my 3 years worth of Swiss, that was. All thrown into one. I know, I can't cope with
Can't manage 3.
That's where everybody gets it wrong. It's not Weetabix, it's
it's not,
Shreddies.
is it?
No. Oh, shouldn't be advertising. Cut that out.
Next stop, the pits to talk through the day ahead with his engineers and mechanics, although they seem to have other plans.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Give it some welly.
Right, well that didn't work then. They've gone. That was them.
Bye. See you at the next one.
Are you good with spanners?
8:30 and it's time for the first briefing. Johnny spends around 2.5 hours on race day locked away with his engineers, analysing data from the car and engine. It's a serious business most of the time.
That's the chassis gone. Hello? Is that trick? Is that the trick paper?
Yeah.
With 15 minutes to go before the start of warm-up, it's time to start getting psyched up and suited up. Prior to race day, Johnny's concentrated on setting up the car for qualifying. Now it's time to work in race trim. There's only half an hour of track time available, but the data gathered during the session is crucial for determining strategy in the race. High on the list of priorities is checking tyre and brake wear, because that will dictate the number of stops he needs to do. It's also a last chance to fine-tune the handling of the car on full tanks and make any necessary adjustments to the setup. There's a lot of work to be done. 10 o'clock, session over.
That's not very nice.
A quick line for the press, then it's back for more technical talk with the engineers. 11 a.m. and Johnny's already eaten lunch before he heads to the FIA briefing for a list of the day's do's and don'ts from race officials. Attendance is compulsory, no show, and you won't be allowed to start the race. Then it's out onto the track for the parade lap.
That's all. Just makes it more difficult.
It's a rare opportunity for the fans to see the drivers close at hand.
Hey.
And a chance for the drivers to catch up on some gossip.
Oh, for the ITV. You need to get recording yourself.
Johnny, we have to tell everyone about our affair. We can't keep it secret anymore.
No, David, please. David, call time. Please don't say that.
David, turn around. So what now?
Now...
Is that it? Can you now...
Oh, well, it'll be back in the debrief now.
More debrief?
Well, no, it's not debrief now. It'll be the strategy.
Strategy?
Strategy sorted, and finally Johnny can relax with a massage from physio Joseph.
And afterwards you have to excuse us, so I need him. We have to talk a little bit alone, so then we can concentrate him. We can do a little bit of mental training, and he can just really relax, and this helps him now.
Finally, it's race time. Johnny's qualified 14th, so he's got his work cut out to get into the points. The cars head out on the formation lap at 2 p.m, but just 20 minutes later, Johnny's race is over. A pair of pliers left in the footwell of the Sauber fouled the brake pedal, causing him to spin. There's a long walk back to the pits and a few questions to be answered.
Only 2 more races to go. You must be a very happy man about that.
Yeah, I know. It'd be nice to start afresh and, you know, hopefully all these things will never happen again.
So, by no means the best of weekends for Johnny, but he's got plenty to look forward to with the Stewart team next year. Now, cast your mind back to Brazil. Do you remember when Martin Brundle swiped Michael Schumacher's hat off his head just before the race? Well, now here's another chance for you to win that hat, and it'll be personalised to the winner by Michael himself.
We just found a prize we just found a prize for a competition sometime later this year.
And that's it. Formula One's most famous cap. You can win it by answering this question. With which team did Michael Schumacher make his Formula One debut? Was it Benetton, Ferrari or Jordan? That's A, Benetton, B, Ferrari, C, Jordan. Here's the number to call, 0891 229966, and we'll announce the winner at the Japanese Grand Prix.
Well, that's it for a few moments, but don't go away. We've got plenty more yet. We're going to be talking about pits to car radio, F1 people, and the psychological pressure of the '98 title race. Welcome back. Now, we've seen all season how critical strategy is during the Formula One race. That makes these things, pit-to-car radios, an absolute necessity. They're high-tech, but they work in a very difficult environment. James Allen's been along to investigate.
It's very important for me to be able to communicate and understand accurately what the driver's trying to tell me. Obviously, it's one of my major sources of information.
Time is short at a Grand Prix and clear communication is vital. Teams rely on their radios so much they employ an engineer to ensure they work properly.
Obviously in the car you've got a transceiver which is wired into the car loom, and at the driver end you have this helmet which has a microphone mounted inside, and then obviously you need a set of earpieces to hear the radio traffic, and these are actually moulded to the exact form of the driver's ear. This is all connected in together, and when he jumps into the car, he connects in via this lead here.
The man who keeps Alex Wurz informed by radio is his race engineer, Christian Silk.
It's just too noisy in here to work without a radio, and it also means that I can stand at the front of the garage, communicate with my driver, communicate with the mechanics, but not actually get in the way of the car or what's going on.
How do you feel over the curbs and the changes of direction? Can we go softer? I think we can go softer, but it should not make the car more bring down. But do you want to go softer spring down robot?
The radio is also useful when things go wrong.
To come in, window with turn, Okay, understood, Alex. Any damage?
Now, some drivers like Damon Hill use the radio all the time, and some like Jean Alesi hardly ever use it at all. Where do you fit into that?
I'm different from race to race and from day to day. So sometimes my mechanic said it's just like a movie for them, because they see me driving and they hear so many times me on the radio and shouting and explaining things and all this. But I like it because it's fun. It's a motivation for the mechanics. It's also a little bit more fun in this serious world. So it's a good communication tool in the team and for me to just make my mechanics, my car crew, my engineers part of me together, so we have some fun, and then at a certain point we turn around and work serious.
We made the change, everyone ready? Okay, let's go, please.
Grand Prix racing's a mighty tough sport, and one of the toughest jobs in it is being team manager. John Walton's been that for years, and he's the subject of this week's F1 People.
My name is John Walton and I'm the team manager of Arrow's Formula 1 team. The team manager's job basically is to organise the general day-to-day running of the race team and test team. I arrange for all the various logistics of transport from A to B in one event to another. Check that all the hotels is okay. You have to go and collect your passes from Pasquale and make sure everybody has their proper credentials. Sometimes it feels like being a mother with lots of spoiled little children around. Tomorrow it's supposed to be cold and wet. Basically I started off doing stock car racing back home in Ireland, and I then met Eddie Jordan, and he offered me a job doing Formula 3, running his Formula 3 car, and then I got the opportunity to get into Formula 1. The Tolman team started up, which then became Benetton about 5 years later. And I stayed there until 1990 when Eddie Jordan was setting up his Formula 1 team. And I spent the next 6 years with Eddie, 3 of them as the chief mechanic, and then I became team manager. During the race I conduct and control what goes on in the pit stops basically. Normally I stay on the pit wall until just before the car is about to come in. Then I tell the guys when they come out in the pit road, find the guy with the lollipop, so I stand in front of the car. And obviously you have to make sure that everything is completed properly and safely before I actually let the car leave the pit again. Winning races would be enjoyable, but we haven't quite reached that yet. It's always a challenge, and you go out with the intentions of winning every time, you know, and if you don't, well, I don't think you should be in this business, really. So for me, my motivation is to go and win.
John Boy helped me out of many a scrape when he was my team manager back in 1996. Anyway, back to the World Championship, 80 points each for Michael Schumacher and Mika Häkkinen. Häkkinen at one stage 22 points clear, Schumi chasing him down. A lot of stories in this paddock that Häkkinen has lost his head. I don't think so, but which of those two is mentally the fitter and why? I think we can break it down into 3 areas. First, the ability to stay on the road. Michael Schumacher, whilst leading in Argentina and Hungary, ran wide, although he did regain the track to go on to win. He wasn't quite so lucky in Austria. This time he's fighting with Häkkinen, trying to wrest the lead, and again Schumacher across the gravel trap had to go in for some repairs. British Grand Prix is the other way round. Terrible conditions, Michael absolutely peerless, and it was Mika off the road twice. Then again in Monza, but this time with brake problems, Häkkinen sailing through the gravel trap. I'd call it pretty even Stevens on this one. Secondly, the ability to overtake each other. Mika put a very good move on Michael off the start line in Monza, but later in the same race, in the billowing smoke of David Coulthard's engine blow-up, it was Michael who was the quickest thinker.
He's going through! Fantastic!
In a wheel-to-wheel straight fight, I would put my money on Michael Schumacher to do the overtaking. Third and finally, psychology. Well, they say all is fair in love and Formula 1. I've been teammates to both of these drivers in the past, and they're a couple of tough cookies. Michael Schumacher, he's very, very clever, especially in press conferences, giving little digs and sending out messages to undermine the opposition. Mika Häkkinen, not quite so good in front of the cameras, but in words at least, he always seems to exude confidence. But remember, Michael Schumacher's won 2 World Championships with a near miss last year for a 3rd. This is first time around for Mika Häkkinen. So if reliability doesn't interfere with the issue, it seems to me that Michael Schumacher could have a slight advantage.
Well, it looks as though Michael Schumacher's got rather more than a slight advantage at the moment. Magnificent pole position, and very importantly, his teammate Eddie Irvine alongside him on the grid. So theoretically, they could control the race if they get a good start.
In a way, if they get a good start, because Michael left the line in Monza like he was sort of grandma going down to Tesco's for a bit of shopping, didn't he? But he made up for it later on. He didn't have Eddie to help him out at the last race, as he has now. And he said in the post-qualifying press conference that he's been doing a lot of work on his starts. If they get away, I think they have a good chance to control the race, as you say.
Now, there's another thing to be considered, and that's the weather. I mean, it's not too brilliant at the present moment. There is rain forecast for tomorrow, and if we have rain, Michael Schumacher is the acknowledged Regenmeister. This could be yet more in his favour.
In a way, I think it depends how much rain. If there's a very, very heavy rain, the Bridgestones are working well and the McLaren look good in those conditions. Intermediates, then Schumacher will disappear. But it does throw a double six. It's very variable. As we saw in Spa, of course, you know, Schumacher should have won that race and ended up coming together with David Coulthard. So it does put a variable in that neither of the two teams really won. Plus, of course, they've got to follow in the rain, and that's so difficult.
Well, I still think when the chips are down, the race is likely to be decided on strategies. Ferrari have been absolutely brilliant this year, so we've got Ross Brawn, the technical director, and Michael Schumacher, who know each other of old, against Adrian Newey of McLaren and Mika Hakkinen. Who would your money be on in those circumstances?
Well, I partly agree with you in that, yes, strategy always plays a big part. But I think Michael Schumacher is just so fast around here, and I think his car and his tyre combination's working so well. I think he'll just have the speed to go off and win it, frankly.
And tyres. I mean, Goodyear on the Ferrari, Bridgestone on the McLaren. Even Steven or not?
In the dry, yes, I would say definitely. We've seen the Benettons also on the Bridgestones running very, very well all weekend, and there seems to be absolutely nothing in it.
Promise for a fabulous race tomorrow then. You can watch it starting at 12:25 on ITV. The Scarlet of Ferrari against the Silver Arrows of Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard. Are they going to be able to uphold the glory of the old days?